good morning/afternoon/evening. Everyone, women like men, have strengths and weaknesses. But to focus solely on weaknesses is folly unless it is done with the intent to foster growth, both in oneself and in others. The wise man does not see vulnerability as an advantage to be taken, but as a reality to be understood. Here are 10 common struggles women face. Struggles every man must be aware of. 1. Emotional sensitivity. Many women feel emotions more deeply. This is not a flaw, but a reality. A man who reacts with logic rather than impulse can bring balance, not conflict. 2. Need for security. Women often seek stability, emotionally, physically, and financially. The wise man does not scoff at this, but understands its role in nature. 3. Overthinking. Doubt, worry, and insecurity can cloud judgment. A man must be an anchor, offering clarity rather than feeding the storm. 4. Social influence. Many women are more attuned to social perception and pressure. A man must recognize this without being swayed by it himself. 5. Desire for validation. While all seek approval, many women are more vulnerable to external opinions. A man of wisdom does not exploit this but encourages self-reliance. 6. Empathy to a fault. Compassion is strength, but unchecked it can lead to manipulation by others. The wise man helps temper emotion with reason. 7. Fear of loneliness. Many women struggle with solitude more than men. A man must not use this as leverage, but encourage resilience. 8. Emotional communication. Women often express through feelings rather than pure logic. The foolish man argues facts, the wise man understands intent. 9. Attraction to strength. Many women are drawn to competence, confidence, and stability. This is not to be faked, but cultivated in oneself. 10. Struggles with letting go. Whether past pain, relationships, or grudges, emotions can linger. The strong man leads by example, showing that the past does not define the future. A wise man observes before he acts, listens before he speaks, and understands before he judges. He does not seek to impose his will upon others, nor does he believe that true power lies in domination. He knows that control is fleeting, an illusion that crumbles under the weight of reality. But understanding, that is lasting. That is strength. To seek control over another is to engage in a battle that cannot be won. It is to push against the natural current of life, exhausting oneself in the pursuit of something that was never meant to be possessed. When a man seeks to control, whether in relationships, in society, or in his own thoughts, he builds a prison for himself. Control is a form of attachment, and attachment leads to suffering. The wise man does not chain himself to the impossible. He walks freely by embracing what is. Understanding, on the other hand, is a foundation that cannot be shaken. It is the path of the observer, the man who sees things as they are, not as he wishes them to be. To understand is to accept reality without resistance. It does not mean submission, nor does it mean passivity. It means clarity. It means recognizing that people are not objects to be shaped by force, but individuals to be understood through patience. A man who seeks understanding does not fear difference. He does not look at the emotions of others as threats to his own stability. He does not react with anger when confronted with uncertainty. Instead, he listens, he observes, he learns. He understands that the world is made up of many perspectives, each shaped by experience, each valid in its own right. He does not demand that others think or feel as he does. He does not impose his beliefs upon them. He simply seeks to know them as they are. When dealing with others, especially in matters of the heart, a man must choose between control and wisdom. If he seeks control, he may attempt to dictate the actions, thoughts, or emotions of another. He may believe that by setting rules, by demanding obedience, or by enforcing his will, he will achieve stability, but he will find that control is brittle. The more he tightens his grip, the more resistance he will create. A relationship built on control is a relationship doomed to fracture. The man who seeks understanding, however, does not ask, "How can I make her do this?" but rather, "Why does she feel this way?" He does not say, "She should not react like this," but rather, "What has led her to this response?" He does not approach with force, but with curiosity. He does not seek to change another, but to know them, and in that knowing there is harmony. The same principle applies beyond relationships. In life, a man may seek to control his circumstances, believing that by sheer force of will he can mold the world to his desires. But reality does not bend to the will of one man. There will always be uncertainty, always be factors beyond control. The man who clings to control will find himself frustrated, angry, and defeated. He will see obstacles as injustices rather than as lessons. He will rage against what he cannot change rather than adapting to what is. The wise man, however, seeks understanding. When difficulties arise, he does not resist them blindly. He studies them. He understands their causes, their nature, and their effects. He does not fight against the storm. He learns to navigate within it. He does not complain about the changing tides. He understands the nature of the sea. This is not weakness, nor is it surrender. It is mastery of self. It is strength. To seek control is to fear. To seek understanding is to trust. The man who controls is a man afraid. Afraid of loss, afraid of change, afraid of uncertainty. The man who understands is free from fear. He knows that nothing is truly his to control, and so he does not suffer when things shift beyond his grasp. He walks through life with an open mind, an open heart, and an unshaken spirit. The world is not meant to be conquered, it is meant to be understood. Those who grasp for control will find themselves grasping at air, forever unsatisfied, forever frustrated. But those who seek understanding will find wisdom, peace, and strength that cannot be taken from them. Emotions are often mistaken for weaknesses, especially by those who believe that strength lies in suppression rather than mastery. But emotions themselves are neither weak nor strong, they are simply part of the human experience. To deny them is to deny reality, and a man who denies reality blinds himself to truth. The wise man does not fear emotions, nor does he allow them to rule him. He understands them, harnesses them, and uses them as tools rather than shackles. A man who sees emotions as weakness will do everything in his power to hide them. He will wear a mask of indifference, pretending that nothing affects him. He will suppress his frustrations, his fears, his sadness, believing that to feel is to falter. But suppression is not strength, it is avoidance. And what is avoided does not disappear, it festers beneath the surface, waiting for a moment of weakness to erupt. A man who denies his emotions does not become stronger, he becomes unstable, unpredictable, a prisoner of his own unacknowledged fears. True strength lies not in pretending emotions do not exist, but in facing them with discipline and wisdom. A man who understands his emotions does not allow them to control him, but neither does he run from them. He observes them as they arise, questioning their source, analyzing their validity, and choosing his response. Anger is not weakness if it is understood and directed toward justice rather than vengeance. Fear is not weakness if it is examined and used to prepare rather than paralyze. Sadness is not weakness if it is embraced as part of healing rather than allowed to consume. Every emotion serves a purpose, and a man who knows their purpose wields them as tools rather than burdens. In relationships, emotions play an even greater role. Many men believe that showing vulnerability will make them seem weak, that admitting fears or struggles will cause others to lose respect. But the truth is the opposite. Those who have nothing to hide, who can face their emotions without shame, command the greatest respect. A man who acknowledges his emotions but remains composed is far stronger than one who pretends to feel nothing. Strength is found in control, not in denial. To say, "This affects me, but I will not be ruled by it," is the mark of a disciplined mind. There is also a great misunderstanding about emotions in others, especially in women. Some men view the emotional nature of women as irrational, as a flaw to be corrected rather than a reality to be understood. But wisdom teaches that different expressions of emotion do not signify weakness. Just as physical strength differs between individuals, so too does emotional strength. A man may express restraint outwardly, but his emotions rage within. A woman may express her emotions freely, but her resilience may be far greater than the man who suppresses his own. To dismiss emotions as weakness is to misunderstand them entirely. The ability to feel deeply is not a sign of frailty but of depth. The ability to empathize, to care, to connect, these are strengths, not liabilities. A man who cannot understand emotions will never understand people. And a man who does not understand people will never lead, never influence, never truly connect. It is not the man who feels nothing that commands respect, but the man who understands his emotions, wields them wisely, and remains unshaken in their presence. Even in hardship, emotions serve a purpose. Grief reminds us of love. Fear reminds us of caution. Anger reminds us of injustice. Each emotion carries a message, a lesson, a warning. The fool ignores these messages, dismissing them as weakness. The wise man listens, learns, and responds with clarity. He does not suppress his feelings, nor does he allow them to dictate his actions. He remains centered, observing them as they come and go, unshaken, unmoved, yet always aware. The greatest warriors in history did not fight without fear. They fought despite it. The greatest leaders did not rule without doubt. They ruled despite it. The greatest men did not live without emotion. They lived with it, learned from it, and turned it into wisdom. To feel is not to falter. To understand emotions is not to be weak. It is to be strong beyond measure. Women seek security not out of weakness but out of instinct, not out of dependency but out of necessity. Security is not just a desire but a fundamental aspect of survival, one embedded deeply within human nature. To understand this is not to judge but to recognize a truth that has existed since the beginning of time. A wise man does not mock this need, nor does he resent it. He understands it, respects it, and if he is capable, provides it. Not as a duty, but as a demonstration of his own stability and competence. Security comes in many forms. It is not merely financial, though that is part of it. It is not merely physical, though that too is important. Security is emotional, psychological, and relational. It is the assurance that tomorrow is stable, that one's foundation is unshaken, that the person beside them will not crumble under pressure. A woman does not seek security because she is incapable. She seeks it because it allows her to move through life with confidence. When stability exists, growth follows. When chaos rules, fear takes over. This is not a flaw, it is a reality. Some men mistake this desire for security as greed, believing that women only seek wealth or power. But wealth alone does not provide true security, only the illusion of it. A man may have riches, yet if he is weak, unstable, or unreliable, he offers nothing of real value. A man of modest means but unshakable discipline is of far greater worth than one who has fortune but no backbone. Security is not in numbers on a bank statement. It is in the presence of a man who knows who he is, who stands firm, who does not waver under pressure. Emotional security is equally vital. A woman does not only seek a man who provides, but a man who protects, not just physically but mentally. She must know that in moments of crisis he will not break, that when she feels uncertain, he will not become uncertain as well, that when emotions run high, he will not be swept away by them but will remain steady, offering clarity instead of confusion. A man who is ruled by his own instability cannot provide security for another. A man who is constantly swayed by circumstance cannot be relied upon. Strength is not in words but in presence, in consistency, in the ability to endure without faltering. Security is also found in leadership. A woman does not want to carry the weight of direction alone. This does not mean she is incapable, nor does it mean she is submissive. It means she seeks a man who has vision, who is decisive, who knows where he is going. Indecision breeds insecurity, and insecurity breeds resentment. A man who drifts, who hesitates, who lacks purpose, cannot offer security to anyone, not to a woman, not to a family, not even to himself. To lead is not to dominate, it is to provide a sense of certainty in an uncertain world. This need for security is not new, it is ancient. In the earliest days of civilization, survival depended on strength, on provision, on the ability to protect and sustain. And though the world has changed, human nature has not. Women still seek what they have always sought, a foundation that will not crumble. A man who understands this does not resist it, he embraces it. He does not complain about it, he rises to meet it. To reject this truth is to reject reality. To accept it is to understand the nature of things, and to master it is to stand unshaken. Social influence affects women deeply, not as a weakness, but as a fundamental aspect of their nature. Women, more than men, are attuned to the environment around them, sensitive to the expectations, opinions, and judgments of society. This is not by accident, it is by design. Since the earliest days of human civilization, social harmony has been crucial to survival, and women have historically played a key role in maintaining it. They have learned to navigate social dynamics with skill, reading emotions, interpreting unspoken cues, and adapting to the expectations of the group. This awareness, however, comes with both strengths and challenges. A woman's sensitivity to social influence means she is often more affected by the opinions of others. She may feel pressure to conform to certain ideals, beauty standards, behavior expectations, cultural norms. Society imposes countless unspoken rules, and many women, whether consciously or not, internalize them. This is why trends in fashion, appearance, and social behavior have such a strong impact on women compared to men. It is not because women lack independent thought, but because their awareness of external perception is heightened. What is valued by the group often becomes a source of personal validation. This tendency can be a source of both confidence and insecurity. When a woman feels socially accepted, she thrives. When she feels judged or excluded, it can weigh on her heavily. Many women struggle with the fear of being disliked, not because they are weak, but because social rejection carries an emotional toll. This is why criticism, especially from peers, can cut deeply. It is not just words, it is an indication of where she stands within the social order. A man may be able to brush off insults or disapproval more easily, relying on his own sense of direction, but a woman is more likely to take these things to heart. Social influence also affects decision-making. Women often seek input from friends, family, or the broader community before making significant choices. This does not mean they lack confidence. It means they value consensus. They are more likely to ask, "What do others think?" Not because they cannot think for themselves, but because social harmony is important to them. This is why friendships and relationships play such a crucial role in their lives. The collective opinion carries weight, shaping their views, their emotions, and sometimes even their sense of self. The power of social influence is also evident in relationships. A woman's perception of her partner is often shaped not just by her own feelings, but by how others perceive him. If her friends and family approve of him, it reinforces her own attraction. If they disapprove, it plants seeds of doubt. This is why a man's reputation matters. A man who is respected by others naturally holds more value in a woman's eyes. She is not just choosing for herself, she is choosing within a social context, aware of how her choices reflect on her and how they will be perceived. This awareness extends beyond personal life and into the broader world. Women are often more influenced by cultural narratives, social movements, and changing societal trends. They engage with ideas not in isolation, but in relation to the larger conversation happening around them. This is why shifts in public opinion, media representation, and societal expectations can have a profound impact on women's identities, beliefs, and priorities. For a man, understanding this reality is crucial. It does not mean that women lack independence, nor does it mean they are controlled by society. It means that social influence is a factor in their thinking, an element that cannot be ignored. A man who recognizes this does not dismiss it, nor does he exploit it. Instead, he provides stability, offering a sense of certainty that is not dependent on external validation. He does not get lost in trends, nor is he swayed by fleeting social approval. He stands firm, knowing that true strength comes not from seeking validation, but from being unshaken by it. Logic must balance emotion, not suppress it. A man ruled entirely by emotion is unstable, swayed by every passing feeling, reacting impulsively without thought. Yet a man who denies emotion entirely is cold, detached, and unable to connect with others. True strength lies in balance, the ability to feel deeply yet remain clear-headed, to acknowledge emotion without being consumed by it, and to use logic as the guiding force in every decision. Emotion is powerful. It fuels passion, drives action, and gives meaning to life. Without emotion, there would be no love, no ambition, no sense of purpose. It is emotion that pushes a man to protect what is his, to fight for what he believes in, to persevere even when logic suggests otherwise. But emotion without control is dangerous. It leads to rash decisions, clouded judgment, and unnecessary conflict. It is the man who acts purely on feeling who finds himself lost, making choices he later regrets, driven by impulses rather than wisdom. Logic, on the other hand, is the foundation of stability. It provides structure, reason, and clarity. A man who applies logic to his emotions does not deny them, he masters them. He feels anger but does not let it dictate his actions. He feels fear but does not allow it to paralyze him. He experiences love but does not let it blind him to reality. Logic allows him to step back, assess the situation, and determine the right course of action, not based on how he feels in the moment, but on what is truly best in the long run. This balance is particularly crucial in relationships. A man who is overly emotional may become possessive, jealous, or reactive, allowing his fears and insecurities to control him. On the other hand, a man who relies solely on logic may appear distant, unfeeling, or indifferent. A woman does not want a man who is cold and calculated, nor does she want a man who is ruled by emotions. She wants a man who understands her emotions, while maintaining his own stability. She wants a man who listens, empathizes, and provides reassurance, not one who dismisses her feelings as irrational, nor one who becomes emotionally unstable alongside her. In leadership, too, this balance is essential. A leader who leads with pure logic but no emotion fails to inspire. He may make sound decisions, but he will struggle to connect with those who follow him. On the other hand, a leader who is entirely emotional will be inconsistent, reactive, and easily manipulated. The best leaders understand the power of emotion. They know when to be firm, when to show compassion, when to inspire, and when to stand their ground. They do not let emotions cloud their judgment, but they also do not ignore the emotional realities of those around them. Even in personal struggles, this balance determines a man's success or failure. When facing adversity, an emotional man may break under pressure, allowing fear, frustration, or despair to consume him. A purely logical man, however, may ignore his own emotions to the point of burnout, pretending he does not feel pain, stress, or exhaustion until it overwhelms him. The wise man understands that emotions are signals, not commands. He acknowledges them, learns from them, and then chooses his response based on reason rather than impulse. This balance does not come naturally, it must be cultivated. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and practice. A man must train himself to pause before reacting, to question his own emotions, and to apply logic even in the most heated moments. He must learn to differentiate between emotions that are useful and those that are destructive. He must recognize when his feelings are guiding him toward the right path and when they are leading him astray. In the end, a man who masters this balance is unshaken. He moves through life with clarity, neither cold nor reckless, neither indifferent nor overwhelmed. He understands that emotion gives life meaning, but logic ensures that meaning is not lost in chaos. He feels deeply but thinks clearly. He is strong not because he denies emotion, but because he controls it. True strength is in mastery of self. It is not found in dominance over others, nor in displays of aggression, nor in fleeting moments of power. A man who seeks to control the world but cannot control himself is not strong. He is weak, ruled by impulse, pride, and insecurity. The true test of strength is not in bending others to one's will, but in bending one's own mind and spirit into unshakable discipline. It is in remaining steady when chaos surrounds, in maintaining composure when emotions rise, and in acting with wisdom rather than impulse. Self-mastery is the foundation of all greatness. A man who has mastered himself does not react blindly to provocation, nor does he seek validation from others. He is not swayed by external forces. Criticism does not break him, and praise does not inflate him. He moves with purpose, his actions aligned with his principles, unmoved by fleeting emotions or temporary hardships. He does not allow anger to dictate his responses, nor does he allow fear to hold him back. He understands that emotions are tools to be used, not forces to be obeyed. Discipline is a key element of self-mastery. The undisciplined man is a slave to his desires, to his weaknesses, to his need for comfort. He lacks control over his own body, his habits, and his mind. He wakes when he feels like it, eats what he craves, and avoids the hard things that forge strength. He makes excuses, blaming circumstances rather than taking responsibility for his own growth. But the man who has mastered himself does what must be done regardless of how he feels. He does not let laziness dictate his actions. He does not wait for motivation. He acts out of discipline. Mastery of self also means control over the mind. A man who cannot control his thoughts is at the mercy of every fear, every doubt, every distraction. He is easily manipulated, easily discouraged, easily broken. But a man who has trained his mind remains focused. He recognizes negative thoughts but does not let them take root. He does not allow external negativity to corrupt his internal stability. He chooses what he gives his attention to, what he believes, and what he allows to affect him. His mind is his fortress, not a battleground controlled by outside forces. In relationships, self-mastery is the difference between chaos and stability. A man who cannot control himself will struggle with anger, jealousy, and insecurity, creating tension and instability in his interactions. He will demand control over others because he lacks control over himself. But a man who has mastered his emotions brings peace. He does not lash out in frustration, nor does he crumble under pressure. He provides security, not just financially or physically, but emotionally. His presence is a steady foundation, not a storm that others must navigate. Mastery of self also dictates how a man handles adversity. Life is unpredictable and hardship is inevitable. The weak man collapses under pressure, allowing difficulties to break him. He complains, blames, and seeks escape rather than endurance. But the strong man faces challenges with clarity. He does not panic, nor does he waste time on self-pity. He accepts reality, adapts, and moves forward. Pain does not control him. He controls his response to it. This mastery is not achieved overnight, nor is it something that can be faked. It requires years of discipline, reflection, and conscious effort. It demands sacrifice, the sacrifice of comfort, of excuses, of the easy path. It requires a man to be brutally honest with himself, to confront his weaknesses rather than deny them, and to forge himself into something greater. In the end, true strength is not found in what a man can lift, how much he earns, or how feared he is by others. It is found in his ability to control himself, to command his thoughts, his actions, and his emotions with precision. A man who has mastered himself needs nothing from the world, for he has already won the most important battle, the battle within. True strength is not in the conquest of others, but in the conquest of self. It is not measured by power, wealth, or reputation, but by the ability to remain disciplined, unshaken, and in control of one's own mind and actions. The man who masters himself stands above circumstance, above emotion, above fleeting desires. He does not seek external validation because he is already whole. He does not waver in hardship because he has forged resilience within. In a world where so many are controlled by impulse, distraction, and weakness, the man who possesses true self-mastery becomes a rare force. One that commands respect without demanding it, one that leads by example, one that moves with quiet but undeniable strength. He does not need to prove himself because his actions speak louder than words. Master yourself and you master life. Everything else follows.